My name is Marguerite Taggart. I am a person in long-term recovery. I have been in recovery, it'll be 26 years, July 21st of this year. My drug of choice was crack cocaine. I was a user for about 16 years, in and out of prison 3 times, just running the streets, doing whatever was necessary to support my habit, not even being cautious of the damage it was doing to my life, to my family, to my children, just kind of doing all kind of crazy things, going to jail, getting out of jail, going back to jail, going to the drug house, shoplifting to support my habit, going to prison, getting out of prison, going back to prison, constantly like a cycle, just like a cycle. You're just constantly doing the same thing, not even thinking about the damage it was doing. I mean, it just kind of tore my life up. It was a mess. The last time I went to prison was July 21st, 1996. In a way, I was kind of glad, but then I wasn't, because I never would have chosen to go to prison. But because I was going to prison, I decided I needed to do something different. I never will forget that day. They were putting me in the police car, and my mom was standing there, and she had this look of disgust on her face, like, I cannot believe you're going through this again. And when I turned to look back at her as they were driving off, I just never will forget that look. And the next time I saw my mother live, she was in a casket being buried. And that is one of the main driving forces that keep me sober today. That every day that I wake up, I thank God for another chance at life, being able to be the person that I know my mom wanted me to be. I could go into a whole lot of war stories about how I was in the drug house and they shot it up, or how I was, running from the police because I had went to the mall and shoplifted to support my habit and all that. But I don't dwell in my war stories because I don't think it would do anybody any good. I basically like to talk about what I've done, what God has allowed me to do to stay sober this long. I started setting goals for myself. I actually started when I was in prison, thinking about my life and what I was going to do when I got out. How was I going to make it? How was I going to live? Where was I going to live? Because those are things we take for granted. Just being able to walk down the street by yourself, when you're in prison, you think, I remember we used to go to recreation and we would sit out. I'm thinking, man, I'm actually in this prison for a long time, because they sentenced me to 18 years for 99 cents. I went to prison with that 18 years, and I'm thinking like, oh, Lord, I do not want to do this. What am I going to do? I'm just, not really comprehending that because I'm thinking I got to be in prison 18 years, like 1, 10, 11, 12, 17, 18. Hadn't even thought about the fact, but one day to me, where my freedom is taken, is like a year to me, but you never really think about it until it's not there anymore. So, I was sitting outside at recreation, and these cars were driving down the street, and I was like, Lord, I would give anything just to be able to walk down the street by myself. Because these people are sitting here, they got these guns, and you can't go anywhere. You get to go outside maybe for an hour, and you have to go back inside. But that was a part of being in prison. But I took that time in prison to start planning my life, to start focusing on where my life was then, and why am I here? What part did I play in this? And I had to take responsibility for my life, because everything that I had done to get where I was, I did it to me. No one forced me to do it. Those were choices that I made. And when I made those decisions, it's like there was a still small voice that came to me and said, it's going to be okay. And I'm like, okay, But at the time, you got like, I got all this time to do. How am I going to do it? But when I allowed God to take over, things just started falling in place. I started setting goals for myself while I was there. I started, when it got closer to going home, I started setting goals to what I was going to do when I got out. Where was I going to live? And I didn't want to come back to Pine Bluff, because that's where I fell from at that time. I hadn't made a decision if I was going to live in Pine Bluff, but I know I didn't want to go back right then, because I didn't know what I was going to do, and I didn't want to go back to where I had been. So I went to a halfway house called Second Genesis in North Little Rock. And I never will forget a lady named Chaplain Jean Ann Coons. She allowed me to come there, and I think I stayed there for like 3 or 4 months or something like that. I got out March the 6th of the year 2000. I got a job about 2 weeks later and I've been working ever since. I, just wanted my life to be normal. It was a process because it was so messed up. I had 10 years to do on parole, and people were like, how you gonna do parole 10 years without getting in trouble? Well, I'm bound and determined to live the right way. I'm bound and determined to do what I should have been doing at first. I look at all the people that I went to school with my teenage years, they got husbands, and when I think about it, I apologize, it takes me back and I get very emotional because my life was so messed up. I took everything for granted, the time I should have been spending with my mom, I was out there in the streets. The time I should have been spending with my kids, I was out there in the streets, and I apologize. I didn't mean to even go this way. But when you take life for granted like that, you miss out on so many things that are important. You never even think about, you got a parent-teacher meeting, you never even think about your child is watching you and how they gonna turn out. And it's not just about you, it's about everybody in your circle, your children. You're not giving them anything to even look forward to because you just doing anything and they see you doing it. And so it took a whole lot of prayer, and I had to allow God to put me where I needed to be to listen to him. And I was in prison. He didn't send me to prison, but he allowed me to go because he saved my life. Because if I hadn't never went to prison, I believe I would have been dead today. He called me. I didn't even know what Exodus was, but I was so excited. I was like, huh, you calling me for a job, really? But being able to work here, and when I really started working and found out what I was going to be doing, it was more or less like it came easy because it's something I had been doing. It was my passion. It still is my passion to be able to sit down and talk to somebody and let them know, I've been where you are. I understand where you are. I want to meet you where you are. And if I got to walk with you the whole way, I'm willing to walk with you. I can just go back, I'm just checking on you, let you know we're here, you need me. Is it something I can do for you? I work with their families. If they can give their family my information, their families can call me. When they get out of jail, I let them know, please call me. Let me know where you are. I reach out to them, they call me. I'll go pick them up if they need a ride to get driver's license, birth certificates, job interviews. They need a place to stay. I'm able to help them with that. When God start working with us, we have to be willing to go through what we got to go through to get us where we need to be.